Hari Om children. Now let's start with the next chapter, the rise of nationalism in Europe. These are the 6 subtopics that we have to learn in this chapter. It's a very interesting one, and this introduction is on the first topic of the chapter, the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Code. The lesson starts with a print which was prepared by Frederick Sorrow in 1848. This print is his dream of a world made up of democratic and social republics. As you can see here, you may see the Statue of Liberty here and the people of Europe and America marching towards the Statue of Liberty. The people are recognized by their national costume and by their national flag. 2 countries have already crossed the statue, and they are United States and Switzerland. France is at the statue, followed by Germany. Similarly, all other people are marching towards the Statue of Liberty. Now, why are they marching towards the statue? The reason is that everyone wants to become a nation state. In front of the picture, you can see the remains of the absolutist regime. That is, these people have brought down the absolute monarchies in their country and are now marching towards the statue to become nation states. On top, in the heavens, Christ and angels can be seen. They are giving their blessings to them and they symbolize fraternity. Refer your textbook for details about this print. The Statue of Liberty is not very clear in the previous slide, so let us see that clearly here. The statue has a torch of enlightenment in one hand and the Charter of Rights of Man, that is the Constitution, in the other. This statue was presented on the 100th birthday of the American Revolution in 1885 as a gift of friendship from the people of France to the people of US. It's situated on the Hudson River, and it's actually a remembrance of the alliance of France and the Americans during the American War of Independence. Last year we learned about the Louis XVI when he went to give his assistance to the Americans in 1776 to fight against the British in the American War of Independence. So this is the Statue of Liberty. As I said earlier, the people of Europe and America are marching towards the Statue of Liberty to become nation states. Let us understand what is the concept of a nation state. A nation state is one in which the majority of its citizens and its rulers came to develop a sense of common identity and shared common culture and history. They shared that is, the people and the rulers, they shared a common history, common culture, common language, common religion, etc. Such a territory is called a nation state. And this commonness was forged through struggles, through the actions of leaders and the common people. Now, if we understand the concept of the nation state, it is very easy to understand the whole chapter, because the countries of Europe are trying to become a nation state, and that is the explanation given in this whole chapter. How did they become a nation state? Now, in source A of your textbook, there is a source given by Ernest Renan on what is a nation. Read that source and summarize the attributes of a nation according to Ernest Renan, and why are nations important are also mentioned in that source. So just find out and write it in your notebook. Coming to the first topic, the French Revolution and the idea of the nation, we can understand that the first clear expression of nationalism in Europe came with the French Revolution of 1789. During the revolution, there was a transfer of sovereignty from the monarchy to a body of French citizens, about which we learned last year. We know that France was ruled by an absolute monarch, Louis XVI, and the people, led by the National Assembly and the Jacobins, they brought down the monarchy and killed the monarch. So, the French revolutionaries introduced various measures to create a sense of collective identity among the French people. The meaning of the sentence is that, as we learned in the previous chapter, Nationalism in India, There were four ways how the Indians created a sense of collective identity. That is, by the use of images like Bharat Mata, then revival of folk traditions, making of a flag, and also reinterpretation of history. That was all done to create a common identity among the people, relating them to the nation. Similarly, the French revolutionaries also introduced various measures to create a sense of collective identity amongst the people. Let us see what are those measures and measures taken by the revolutionaries. Yeah, the 7 measures are, I've written just the points over here. The first point is the ideas of La Patrie and Les Citoyens emphasized the notion of a united community enjoying equal rights under a constitution. That means an idea of fatherland, that is, France is our fatherland, and we are all citizens enjoying equal rights under a constitution, was developed among the French people. Similarly, a French flag, the tricolour, was chosen to replace the former royal standard. That's the second point. Third is the Estates General, about which we learnt last year, was now elected by a body of French citizens, which was called the National Assembly. Then, new hymns were composed, oaths taken, and martyrs remembered, all in the name of nation. These are the things that we also do in our country. A centralized administrative system was put in place, and uniform laws were made for all the citizens living within the territory. Internal custom duties and dues were all abolished, and a uniform system of weights and measures were adopted for the whole nation. All regional dialects were discouraged, and French became the common language of the nation. These are the various measures how they created a sense of collective identity among the people. The revolutionaries declared that it was the mission and destiny of the French people to liberate the people of Europe from despotism, that is, absolute monarchies. In other words, to help other people of Europe to become nations. So, the French armies moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, Italy, etc., and the French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad in other parts of the world. In 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte became the Emperor of France. He was the Emperor till 1815. You can see here some quotes given by Napoleon. They are very nice quotes. Just read them, children. Until you spread your wings, you will have no idea how far you can fly. So identify your potential. Impossible is a word to be found only in the dictionary of fools. You must have heard of this quote many times. And this was given by Napoleon. Great ambition is the passion of a great character. And see the last one. This is a very nice one. My true glory is not to have won 40 battles. Waterloo will erase the memory of so many victories, but what will live forever is my civil code. This is what we have to learn about Napoleon in 10th standard. That is the civil code of Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon was responsible for spreading the values of the French Revolution to other countries, especially his legal reform and the abolition of serfdom. We'll learn in detail about it. Through a return to monarchy in 1804, Napoleon destroyed democracy in France. But in the administrative field, he incorporated many revolutionary principles to make the whole system more rational and efficient. The domestic policies of Napoleon are mentioned here. He made peace with the church, recognized Catholicism as the religion of France, and he codified the French laws. Codification means all the laws were written down and they were stated in an order. The most important part of his unified code was the civil code or the Napoleonic code of 1804. Few points are mentioned here. For example, he recognized equality before law, the right to choose a profession, religious toleration, end of serfdom and feudalism, about which I'll explain later. He also outlawed all unions and strikes and also took away many of women's rights. The Napoleonic Code is mentioned in detail in the next slide. Before that, let us understand what is a feudal system. In a feudal system, the king is at the top. He provides money, he recruits army, and also grants land to his feudal lords or vassals. Below him are his lords and vassals who protect the king and manage the territory. The king gives salary to them in kind and not in cash. Kind means in land. Below the lords and vassals are the knights or the soldiers who protect both the king and the lords. And below them are the majority of the population, who are the peasants and the serfs who work on the land which is provided to them by the vassals and the knights. So the people who are oppressed the most in this system are the peasants or serfs. Few more details about the peasants and serfs. The serfs produced food for the kingdom and paid taxes to the nobles and king. They got land to farm and protection, but they had few rights, such as the right to leave the land. But the serfs were tied to the land. They were not allowed to leave the land and were considered part of it. So what did Napoleon do? He freed the peasants from serfdom. That means they were no longer tied to the land of the vassal or the feudal lord. The civil code and the points. Napoleon abolished the privileges based on birth and established equality before law. He secured the right to property to all the citizens, abolished feudal system and serfdom. He removed guild restrictions. Guild restrictions means the merchants had divided themselves into merchant guilds and controlled all the trade in the cities. What he did was that all restrictions on the merchant guilds were removed and gave them more freedom to trade. He improved transport and communication system, uniform laws, standardized weights and measures, common currency, improved movement and exchange of goods and capital from one place to another. Napoleonic Code has influenced the legal systems of more than 70 nations around the world. It was he who introduced the metric system, that is a system of measure based on kilogram and the meter in Europe. Here is an interesting activity to be done in an A4 size paper and to be filed in your portfolio. Make a feudal school poster that's on a blank sheet of paper. Create a feudal system that represents our school. Think about who goes at the top of the school, the middle and the bottom. You may draw images of each group and a short sentence that explains the social role of these people in the school. Refer the slide 10, which tells us about feudalism.